Hey guys, Shy here. This is kind of going to be a rant, but I want to take the time to talk about the current state of gaming. In the last decade, we've seen a rise in greed and messy practices implemented by these large video game companies. And I'm sure everyone at this point is familiar with the microtransaction and how it can be very predatory. An example of this is the surprise mechanics or loot boxes. I always thought it was kind of dumb that someone could spend like $10 and get stuff that's absolutely worthless. I feel that putting a certain amount of money should guarantee something of equal worth within the game. People spend so much money on these mobile games and stuff to get certain items or characters or whatever, and they get absolutely nothing. Mobile games are notorious for loot boxes, but as of lately we've been seeing this in our AAA titles like Call of Duty, 2K, Destiny, and pretty much all of the EA games. I can understand that these companies want to make money, but when the only way you can obtain a certain item is with money and it's not obtainable in any other way through actually playing the game, it's going to create a divide, especially when said item has an effect on the game. Which reminds me, to this time a couple of years ago, I was playing The Last of Us multiplayer, and I thought I was a pretty good player, but then I noticed that I was getting outgunned by the same gun over and over in different games. So I looked up how to unlock this gun and found out that it was a $5 purchase to unlock it. So I bought it and began to wreck people online. But the point is, even though it wasn't a loot box, it was still extra money spent in a $60 game in order to get a 1-up on someone that doesn't even have access to it. And this brings me to my next point, like DLC. I mean, DLC isn't as bad as it used to be nowadays, because when a company comes out with DLC, it actually adds a lot to the game. But like, on the bad side of things, we get like stuff like Destiny's Rise of Osiris DLC, which pretty much expanded on nothing. Like, you got basically a $5 DLC for paying $20. And like, they call it an expansion, which it pretty much expanded on nothing. And like, this sucks for people who are like wanting to see the game expanded story-wise and lore-wise, kind of like me, but like, you don't get it with that. So it was pretty much like a big letdown. But like, I'm pretty glad to see that Bungie is no longer under the thumb of Activision. So they were able to give us Shadowkeep, which expanded on the game in pretty much every way possible. And like, another thing is, it's kind of funny to think about how indie developers are able to create more complete and coherent games than AAA developers. Like, a lot of these titles, these indie titles, like, you see passion and love from the developers that they put in to create their dream worlds, but like, you're not seeing the same thing from these AAA developers. Like, I think like the biggest example I can give for this is Fallout 76. Like, If you haven't seen what's wrong with that game, go look it up. So, my message to all the big devs out there is show us that you care about entertaining us by creating games that aren't just out to take our money, but to give us the best possible experience.